Macros are a very useful and powerful feature in Excel. We can use them where there's often a level of repetitiveness, or if we have a task that we kind of do over and over, and it could be time saving to get Excel to do it for us. So in the example that I have here, I've imported data that hasn't come out quite right. So it's out of line. And if I had 100 students, I wouldn't want to go through each student and fix all the data to bring it back in line and do everything that I need to do. So I can get Excel to record me doing it once, so when if I was to click on Tom's name here, I can hit a keystroke that would trigger the macro and tidies up the data for me. So it's much faster than me going through each number and trying to get it into line. So if I start off with my example here again, we want to record a macro to fix the data. So I go up here to View and Macros. Now I need to make sure that this is switched on, use relative references. You know it's switched on if there's a box around the icon. If that's not switched on, the macro will only ever apply to the cell on which you record it. So if I recorded it on Tom's information here, when I hit the macro, no matter where I click, it will only ever fix Tom's. It won't be able to fix Mary or John's. So we need to make it relative to the cell that we're selecting. So it's selected, the box is around it. So now I'm going to record my macro. I'm going to give it a keystroke. We'll say one that's not particularly common, so I'll use J. So every time I hit Control and J, it will execute this macro. So now we have to be very careful about what we do, because Excel is now recording all of our mouse activity. So the first thing that I want to do is to click on Tom, even though it's already selected. That tells the macro and Excel where to begin. So I select Tom, and then I do one thing at a time. I select 65, and then I move it. I don't do two things at a time. Then I select 61, and then I move it. So that has shown Excel how to run the macro, or what is involved. So now I stop recording, and if I click on Mary, if the macro runs correctly and I hit Control and J, which was the keystroke that we set up, it should fix her data, and the same for John. So a macro can be used for something simple like this, for fixing data. It can be a complex function. It could retrieve information from a website, all a series of steps, but you have to make sure that everything is done one step at a time and that you don't combine steps, because that introduces errors and the macro will fail.